Once upon a time, in a small village of Itire, there lived a young girl named Ebube. She was 16 years old, full of life, and had eyes that sparkled like the stars. Her family, modest yet loving, lived in a small thatched house near the edge of the village. Her father, Ekene, was a man of great strength and honor, respected by the villagers. Ebube's mother, Nneka, was gentle and kind, known for her wisdom and nurturing spirit. They had always taught Ebube to be obedient, kind-hearted, and patient with others. Hello wonderful viewers, I haven't started making money from this content. The only way you can support me is by subscribing to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you can always get notified anytime I drop a new video. Thank you. Let's get back into the story. One summer, Ebube's father received news that his brother, Obinna, was going through a difficult time. Obina had fallen on hard times, and his life had become a series of misfortunes. He had no family of his own, and his wealth had disappeared. In a gesture of compassion, Ekene invited him to live with their family. Family is everything, Ebube's father said to Nneka. We can't turn our backs on him. He is my brother. So Obina moved into their home, and at first, things seemed normal. He helped them in the house, offering assistance with repairs, the harvests, and the chores. He would tell stories at night, and Ebube would listen, laughing at the jokes he told. It felt like the family was whole again, like things were as they should be. But deep down within Ebube, a sense of discomfort began to grow. It was subtle at first, the way Obina's eyes lingered on her, the way he would smile at her a little too long when she passed by him in the house. But Ebube tried to ignore it. After all, he was her uncle. He was just a family member. As the days passed, the feeling that something was wrong became harder to ignore. Ebube would be out in the garden, pulling weeds or helping her mother with the crops, when she would feel Obina's eyes on her from afar. He would watch her with an intensity that made her skin to crawl. Ebube, he would say casually, as if nothing was wrong. You have really grown. You are now becoming a woman. At first, Ebube smiled and nodded, unsure how to respond to his words. But over time, the compliments became more frequent and unsettling. He would praise her physical appearance, her hair, her smile, the way she carried herself, remarks that felt like a weight settling upon her shoulders. One afternoon, as Ebube was returning from the market, Obina met her halfway along the path to their home. You look so much like your mother, Ebube, he said, his voice soft and almost affectionate. But I can see the strength in you. You are more than just beautiful. You are powerful. His words, though complimentary, made her uneasy. Why did he always speak to her like that? Why did his eyes look at her as if he saw something more than just his niece? She brushed it off, telling herself that perhaps she was imagining things. After all, it was her uncle. Nothing could be wrong, right? But deep down, Ebube knew that something was shifting in the air. Something she couldn't quite understand, but that felt dangerously close. Days passed, and the tension in the house grew. Ebube found herself avoiding Obina whenever she could. If he was in the courtyard, she would stay inside. If he was sitting near the fire, she would find an excuse to leave. Yet, no matter how much she tried to distance herself, Obina would always find a way to be close to her. Sometimes he would linger near the doorway when she was in the kitchen, his eyes following her every move. Other times, he would sit on the veranda and watch her as she walked in the garden. Ebube felt trapped in a house she once felt safe in, her every moment scrutinized, her every word measured. One evening, as she sat alone in the room, the wind outside howling softly, she heard the familiar sound of footsteps outside her door. It was late, and the house was quiet. She pulled the blanket over her shoulders, hoping it was nothing. But the steps stopped outside her room. A soft knock came, followed by a voice. "Ebube," Obina called softly, his voice warm and low. "Are you awake?" Ebube's heart skipped a beat. She didn't want to open the door. She didn't want to face him, but she knew he wouldn't go away. Slowly, she stood up, her legs feeling weak under her, and opened the door. There he stood, a shadow in the dim light. His eyes were dark, and his expression was unreadable. "I've been thinking about you," he said. His words were slow, as though he was savoring them. "Uncle," Ebube whispered, her voice trembling. "What do you want?" Obina's lips curved into a smile, one that seemed too knowing, too unsettling. He stepped closer to her. The air between them became thick with something she couldn't name. "I've been admiring the woman you are becoming," he said softly. "You are no longer the little girl I once knew, Ebube. You've blossomed into something big." Ebube felt a chill run through her body. She stepped back immediately, but Obina followed. Her throat tightened. The warmth in his voice felt wrong, like poison disguised as honey. "Please, Uncle Obinna," she whispered, her heart pounding. "I don't like the way you look at me." Obina paused for a moment, his smile lingering before he spoke again. "You are just afraid," he said softly. "Afraid of what is changing you inside. But you will see soon enough that you are becoming a woman, Ebube." The words lingered in the air, and Ebube's breath itched. For the first time, she realized the danger that loomed just beyond her door. After a few minutes of begging, Obina grabbed Ebube by the waist, fondled her breasts, and laid her on the bed. That night, he disflowered her and told her that she had become a woman. When Obina was done having sex with her, he left her alone in tears. With trembling hands and a body covered with blood, she closed the door, but the darkness that had settled in her heart would not go away. It was only the beginning. That night, Ebube lay awake, her thoughts spinning. She could hear Obina's voice in her mind, echoing through the silence of the house. She wanted to speak to her parents, to tell them everything, but something held her back. Fear, doubt. She feared that they wouldn't believe her. She feared that her words would tear the family apart. The next day, the unease only grew. Obina's behavior became more overt, his words more loaded, and yet he continued to wear his mask of kindness. He was charming, helpful, and always present. Ebube tried to stay busy, working in the fields, helping her mother with the cooking, anything to keep her mind occupied. But even when she wasn't in the same room as Obinna, she could feel his presence, watching her, waiting for the right moment. It was only a matter of time before that moment arrived. As the days wore on, Ebube couldn't feel herself unraveling under the weight of Obina's constant presence. Each time he looked at her, it felt as if he was seeing something deep inside her, something that terrified her. She had never felt more vulnerable, more exposed. No corner of the house seemed safe from his watchful gaze. One evening, as Ebube sat on the porch, staring at the setting sun, she heard footsteps approaching behind her. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Ebube, Obina said, his voice low and smooth. You look so lost in thought. What is troubling you? Ebube stood up quickly, her heart racing. Nothing, uncle. I just wanted some fresh air. She didn't dare to look at him, afraid of what she might see in his eyes. He stepped closer, and she could feel his breath on her neck, warm and unfamiliar. You know, I've been thinking about you lately, he murmured. You are becoming so much more than I ever expected. Don't worry, by the time I am done servicing your pussy with my dick, you will be happy. His words sent a shiver down her spine, and she took another step backward, trying to put distance between them. But Obina didn't retreat. Instead, he closed the space between them. You don't have to be afraid, Ebube, he said, his voice almost coaxing. I am here for you. I want to continue to make you happy. I've always been here for you. Ebube's pulse quickened. She wanted to scream, to run, but she didn't know where to go. She was trapped in a house with a man who had once been a family, but now felt like a total stranger, a predator hiding in a plain sight. Uncle Obina, please, she whispered, her voice shaking. Please, leave me alone. I don't want to do this anymore. Please, leave me. Ebube, he said, stepping forward. I know what you are feeling. You don't have to hide it. You are becoming a woman. In fact, you are now a woman, and I am here to help you understand what that means. Ebube felt tears welling up in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She couldn't cry. She couldn't show any sign of weakness. Not now. The next few days felt like an endless blur of dread. Ebube couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was going to happen. She no longer felt safe in her own home, but every time she tried to talk to her parents, the words stuck in her throat. How could she explain the depth of her fear without sounding insane? How could she make them believe her? One night, as the family gathered around the fire to eat dinner, Ebube's heart skipped a beat when she noticed Obina sitting just a little too close to her. He was speaking softly to her, his hand brushing against hers as he passed her the bowl of food. Ebube, he said, his voice low, you have such a beautiful smile. It lights up the room. Did you know that? Ebube quickly withdrew her hand, her stomach turning. She couldn't sit there any longer. She excused herself, standing up abruptly. Excuse me, I am not feeling well. Her mother, Nneka, looked up at her with concern. Is everything all right, my daughter? Mommy, I just need some fresh air. Ebube stammered, not trusting herself to speak any further. As she stepped outside, the cool night air hit her face, but it did little to ease the burning sensation in her chest. She leaned against the wall of the house, her hands trembling. She knew she couldn't keep running forever. Something had to change. Just as she was about to take a deep breath, she heard the familiar sound of footsteps approaching. Slowly, Obina came into view, his face bathed in moonlight. I thought I might find you out here, he said, his voice smooth and controlled. You are avoiding me, Ebube. I am not, she replied quickly, but the lie tasted bitter on her tongue. You don't need to lie to me, he said softly. I can see the fear in your eyes, but it's okay. You don't have to be afraid. I won't hurt you. But Amara knew better. His words were empty promises, meant to lull her into a false sense of security. She didn't trust him anymore. Uncle, please, leave me alone, she said, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and defiance. He smiled, but there was nothing kind in it. You are stronger than you think, Ebube. You just need to stop fighting it. We both understand what is happening between us. The words hit her like a slap, and she stepped back, almost stumbling. No, she whispered, shaking her head. You are my uncle. You are having sex with me. This is not right. Obina reached out, grabbing her wrist with surprising strength. It doesn't have to be wrong, he said, his voice dangerously low. You and I can be something beautiful together. Don't you want that? Don't you love my dick? Ebube tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. Fear surged through her veins. Her heart pounded in her chest as the world seemed to narrow to the dark space between them. I don't want this, she gasped, fighting to break free. Please, let me go. But Obina didn't let her go. He pulled her closer, his breath warm against her ear. You will understand, Ebube. You will see that I am the only one who truly cares about you. You don't have to fight this. Ebube's mind was a blur of panic. She couldn't think. She couldn't breathe. All she could do was struggle, pushing against him with every ounce of strength she had. With one final burst of energy, she broke free and ran toward the door. Her heart racing, she didn't look back. We've now come to the end of the part 1 of this story. Please, wonderful viewers, if you find this content interesting, please comment, like, and support me by subscribing to my channel and turn on the notification bell so that you can always get notified anytime I drop a new video, just like this one. Thank you. Watch out for the part 2, guys.